I always suspected the neighbor from 401. But confirmation came when I found his phone in the elevator, with photos that destroyed my life. The phone left in the elevator had everything: photos, messages, and the end of my marriage. I've always been a laid-back guy. I've never been one to keep tabs, to demand where I was, who I was with. I've always been trusting. Maybe that was my biggest mistake. We'd been married for 7 years. It wasn't a perfect marriage, but who has one? Fights, yes. But also laughter, trips, good times. But lately, I've started to feel, you know that feeling that something's off, but you can't prove it? My wife changed. She started spending more time on her phone, but always with the screen facing down. Before, she'd leave her phone on the table. Now she even carried it to the bathroom. She started going out with her friends more often. And the strangest thing, she started dressing up too much to go to simple places, like a coffee with her sister. At first, I thought it was all in my head. Fatigue, stress, you know. But one day it all hit me. It was Saturday. She said she was going to lunch with a friend from college. So far so good. But when she came home, hours later, I noticed she was wearing a perfume I'd never smelled before. A men's cologne. I asked immediately, half jokingly, "What perfume is that? New?" She laughed. A nervous laugh. "Oh, it must be from the restaurant. The waiter was wearing a strong perfume." Waiter? Seriously? That didn't fly. But I swallowed hard. I pretended to believe her. And that's when I started paying more attention. And the more I watched, the more strange things happened. One day, a notification arrived on her smartwatch while she was sleeping on the couch. It was a message from Marcos, 401. Yes, the neighbor. A super nice guy. He always chatted with me, but he never took his eyes off her. Always smiling, always polite. Too polite. After that day, I started noticing him too. The way he greeted her in the hallway. The knowing smiles. The two of them laughing at some joke I never understood. One day, I got in the elevator and found a long hair on the floor. The same shade as my wife's hair. And you know what was worse? The smell of men's perfume in the air. The final straw came when I saw that she deleted all the messages from her phone before bed. How did I know? Because one night, she left her phone in the living room. Curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up the phone, all the conversations were clean. WhatsApp was empty. Even with her mother. Who deletes a conversation with their own mother? At that moment, I realized I was being made a fool of. But I needed proof. Something concrete. And then fate had a way. It was a Wednesday, 7:42 p.m. I even remember the exact time because I was returning from the market with 2 heavy bags and tired from the day. I entered the elevator half-automatic, my head spinning, and immediately realized there was something on the floor. A cell phone. A black Samsung, with the case cracked at the corner and a skull sticker on the back. It was Marcos's phone, my neighbor from 401. I'd seen him using that device many times. I picked up the phone from the floor. The screen was unlocked. Strange, right? Who forgets their phone and leaves it unlocked? On the screen, a WhatsApp conversation was open. I froze. Contact. Love. Last message sent, minutes before. I'm in the room, waiting for you. I've already ordered the wine. My heart raced. I looked around. The elevator was still ascending. I pressed the emergency stop button. I needed to think. Love. Room. Wine. My stomach churned. I brought up the conversation. Against all my principles, against my fear, against my pain. I needed to know. And what I found there destroyed me. Photos. Selfies of the two of them together in a motel bed. She lay on his chest. He smiled, making a peace and love sign. Other photos showed wine glasses, red sheets, a mirror on the ceiling. And more messages. Tomorrow he won't even suspect. You're so much better than him. I want more nights like this. I almost dropped my phone. My hands were shaking. My legs were giving out. My wife. At the motel. With the neighbor from the 401. And he was stupid enough to leave his phone in the elevator. It was as if the universe had handed me everything on a silver platter. A blatant betrayal, irrefutable proof, and it all there, in the palm of my hand. I turned off airplane mode. The battery still had a charge. I went through the photo gallery. I watched videos. Them dancing. Her in lingerie. He said, "My perfect woman." The elevator was still stopped. I needed to act. But how? Hand him the phone and pretend I didn't see anything? Give it back to her and blow it right there? Or keep the evidence and plan a suitable response? I got the elevator working again. I went up to my floor, went home, and locked the door. I sat on the couch and took a deep breath. I looked at my phone again. I did what anyone in despair would do. I took a screenshot of everything. I sent the images to my own WhatsApp. Proof. Then, I left my phone at the front desk and asked the doorman to let the resident of 401 know it was there. 10 minutes later, I heard Marcos's door slam. He ran downstairs. He grabbed his phone and came back, as if nothing had happened. As if he hadn't destroyed a marriage. But I knew. I saw everything. And from that moment on, I wasn't the same. That night, I barely slept. I tossed and turned in bed while she slept beside me as if nothing was happening. Every snore she made was like a punch to the gut. I watched and thought, how dare she? My head was on fire, but I knew I had to keep my cool. I couldn't scream, I couldn't freak out. Not yet. Not until I had the right moment to throw it all in her face. I waited. I planned. For 3 days, I acted normally. I made us both coffee, said good morning, even helped with the groceries. And every gesture I made was a rehearsal for what was to come. On Friday night, I asked her to stay home with me. I made dinner. Yes, I did. The table was set, wine, candles. She seemed surprised, even a little emotional. Wow, love, what a romantic atmosphere. Did you miss me, huh? Awesome. I replied, with a half-smile that hid the storm. We ate. We drank. She talked excitedly about her day. I just listened. And the moment she laughed out loud at something stupid she saw on her phone, I knew it was time. I calmly got up, grabbed my phone, and connected it to the living room TV. I opened the gallery. And silently, I put the first screenshot on the screen. The photo of the two of them at the motel. She froze. The glass stopped halfway to her mouth. What is this? She asked, already turning pale. I scrolled to the second image. A message. I want more nights like this. She dropped the glass. The wine spilled onto the table. Let me explain, please. Explain what? My firm voice, without shouting, hurt more than if I had broken everything. That you cheated on me with the neighbor from 401? That you went to the motel with him and still had the nerve to come back to this bed and sleep next to me as if nothing had happened? She was shaking. She was crying. She was begging. It was a mistake, a weakness. I swear, it only happened twice. Twice you filmed, took a selfie, and then called him better than me. She fell to her knees. She grabbed me by the legs. She cried like a child. She begged for forgiveness, said she loved me, that she wanted to rebuild. But you know what's worse than betrayal? It's the lie maintained coldly, calmly, for so long. It's the fact that she let me believe I was loved, while I made a fool of myself in my own home. It's over, was all I could say. I went to my room, grabbed a backpack, packed some clothes, my laptop, and left. I slept in the car that night. The next day, I called the lawyer. She sent me dozens of messages. She sent me crying audio. She said she was going to kill herself. That it was her fault. That Marcos just took advantage of her. But the truth is, no one takes advantage of someone who doesn't allow themselves to. Later, I found out they'd been seeing each other for over 3 months. They had a couple name between them. She told him our marriage had been dead for a long time. Marcos. He had the nerve to come up to me days later. In the parking lot. Man, I didn't want it to be like this. It was just attraction, I swear. I didn't answer. I just looked him in the eye and said, "You didn't destroy me. You freed me." He didn't understand. But right there, in that moment, I was being reborn. After the confrontation, my life was turned upside down. The first few days were a nightmare. I cried in the silence of the car, in a friend's borrowed room, trying to understand where I went wrong. But with time, clarity came. I hadn't failed. I was loyal. The one who betrayed, deceived, and destroyed me was her. The lawyer was quick. In less than a week, we filed for separation. No children, no major assets, everything was resolved with paperwork and the pain no one saw. She tried to call me hundreds of times. She sent me audio messages begging, saying she regretted it, that she couldn't live without me. She even said Marcos had left her. That he just wanted adventure. What a surprise, right? But I already understood, it wasn't about her anymore. It was about me. About rebuilding myself. About not letting the betrayal define who I was. I started therapy. I went back to working out, something I'd neglected. I reconnected with friends she'd insisted on keeping at arm's length. And, little by little, I cleared the rubble of my self-esteem and rebuilt my life. And with that came something I hadn't expected: peace. Yes. For the first time in years, I slept without anxiety, without the fear of being cheated on, without the anguish of mistrusting every word. But the world turns. And so does 401. One day, returning home, now living in a different building, I received a message from an old neighbor. "Did you see the scandal at 401? Curious, I asked for details. She sent photos. Marcos was being evicted. His wife, yes, his wife, found out. Yes. He was married. He had a family in another city. He lied to my ex too. He lost everything. Home, job, wife, dignity. And she went back to her mother's house. The woman who said I was the man of her life ended up alone, unemployed, and with a bad credit rating for having incurred hidden debts while she was with me. But me, I was at peace. I had started living again. No need to hide my phone. No need to fake a smile. No need to lie down next to someone and feel alone. Today, when I look back, I see that the phone I left in the elevator wasn't a coincidence. It was a sign. A gift. Life telling me, you deserve better. And you know what's craziest? I'm grateful for that day. Because if it weren't for that phone, I'd still be living a lie. What about you? Have you ever been through something similar? Have you ever been betrayed by someone who swore eternal love? Comment here. And if this story touched you, like, subscribe, and follow me. Because there's much more to come.